Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the county's virtual press conference. Speaking today will be County Judge Samaniego, Dr. Mario Rascon, El Paso County Chief Medical Examiner, Joel Bishop, El Paso County Executive Director of Justice and Community Support, Nicole Ferrini, City of El Paso Chief Resilience Officer. Joel and Nicole will both be providing an update on resources for the community today. We will also have Commander Ryan Uritia with the Sheriff's Office online as well to discuss enforcement. And we also have Deputy Chief Jorge Rodriguez on the line as well in case there are any questions for him. At the end of the press conference, the judge will also make some comments in Spanish. Judge, would you like to go ahead and get us started?
Absolutely. Thank you, Nicole, and good evening to everyone. I believe this is one of the final pleas in trying my best and our best, not only myself, but from the city and the county commissioner's court to plead really with all our community to be prudent this entire next 5 days. You know, I truly believe that there's nothing more important than for our entire community to prudently and safely handle Black Friday and Thanksgiving holiday. I'll begin telling you a little bit about what's happening across the country and then how does it relate to us here in El Paso. The US could nearly double its current numbers, about 12.4 million reported infections by January 20th. COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations nationwide are exploding with more than 3.1 million infections reported in the US since the start of November. 30 states are showing upward trends in new COVID-19 cases. New Mexico is over 50% in the past week. Just 4 states are showing downward trends in the entire United States. There were 85,936 hospitalizations reported on Monday, according to the COVID-19 tracking project data. The US has also had 14 consecutive days of record-breaking current hospitalizations. The total new cases reported in the last days have climbed over 1.2 million for the first time ever. There were 889 deaths reported yesterday, which is the most reported on a Monday since July 27, 2020. July 27, 2020. And I repeat that because it's typically the outcome of how we handle a holiday. In that case, 4th of July. So that was a big picture on what's going on across the country. So let me provide you with an update of our situation. It is important to note that we're dealing with the same phenomenon that is happening across the United States. In other words, this is our reality as a community and as a nation. What we do as a community impacts our nation, and what our nation does impacts ourselves here, especially when you're looking at the travel situation that happens during Thanksgiving holidays. As of today, we're still in stage 1, which is the worst stage in our path to recovery. 1,257 new COVID cases were reported today, which brings us our total here in El Paso, 82,809 cases. Currently, we have 36,640 active cases that are being reported, not including the asymptomatic and those that have decided to quarantine without testing. I believe that number would be more accurate at about 40,000. 40,000 individuals have the virus that are part of our community. Health Department Salary reported 15 additional deaths today. Our total, sadly and painfully, we have had 877 deaths to date. There are 489 deaths under investigation at this time. There's 304 patients in ICU, 217 patients on ventilators. Those are very difficult numbers, but one of the things I've promised today is transparency and being candid. So there won't be any confusion about the situation and the state of El Paso in our region at this point in time. We have 1,500 medical personnel have been sent to help with hospital surge. I think that's a significant number. So I'll repeat that number because I think it'll tell you how difficult things are that we have to bring that 1,500 medical personnel have been sent to help with hospital surge. We presently have 41% COVID-19 hospitalizations in El Paso. It has dropped some. We had 53% just a week ago. At this time, it means that 41% of our capacity in the hospital are COVID related. This includes additional patients at the convention center and other 10 sites that have been set up and the spaces that have been provided inside of our hospitals. To clarify, there are 10 mobile morgues. One is not optional, is operational. There are 4 mobile morgues at the holding facility. There had been some confusion, so 10 mobile morgues, one is not operational, and 4 mobile morgues at the holding facility. And I'll discuss the holding facility later on in my presentation. We're working on building a temporary morgue in the inside of a designated facility. In order to maintain the respect of our families, we will not, at any situation, will we be providing the location. El Paso County, the city, OEM, Border RAC have all been working together to plan for the logistical management of this facility. And may I add that our funeral homes have done an unbelievable job of trying to process a very dignified situation for all of the loved ones and all the families that have lost loved ones. It's extremely appreciated. The volume is just immense, and they continue to work day and night trying to do the best that they can given such high volumes. We now have 236 loved ones being held in our morgues. 236 loved ones held in our morgues. OAM is coordinating with the National Guard to assist with fatality management. Last Friday, I sent a letter to the governor requesting clarification as to whether or not I can issue a curfew. I have the opportunity to speak to Luis Saenz, the governor's chief of staff, along with a representative from the Attorney General's office. It was a favorable discussion, and I believe that we arrived at the conclusion that I am able to issue an order, and I'll discuss it because it's not the same order, and I want this to be very clear that it's a partial curfew. It's not as rigid as the one before, and I need that to be clear because we're going to talk a lot about the balance between opening safe and also making sure that our businesses continue to operate. It's a commitment that I've made to create that balance and to continue going forward in that direction. As you know, my legal authority was limited, and I have respected the result and what was issued back from the 8th Court of Appeals. The curfew will go in effect Wednesday, November the 25th, 2020 at 12:01 a.m. So it'll be this midnight, 1 minute afterwards, the curfew will be issued. The curfew will be from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. The curfew addresses, and I really want to be explicit on this, social and recreational activities. The curfew does not apply when out for essential or non-essential businesses. You will be able to be purchasing, shopping, whatever it is that you need to do of any essential or non-essential businesses under the conditions that are placed. For example, after 9 p.m., then we'll have different protocol. Shopping is not affected by the curfew as a means to allow stores to remain open for extended hours and minimize the number at one time. We're strongly encouraging for the businesses to open and have a wider opportunity for shoppers to avoid any congregation. We're also asking for everyone for the possibility of extending some of the sales and so forth that will not allow for people to congregate. We're trying to create a balance on the health of our community and the economy. I'm strongly encouraging El Pasoans and businesses to utilize curbside, to-go delivery, and online services in order to avoid large crowds. I am encouraging big box stores to distribute their Black Friday sales throughout the day to avoid large crowds that may all gather at once for specific sales. If you recall, my heart goes out, and I really want the employees to participate and encourage the big box stores. We were very successful with signage, one-way aisles, an individual in the front, the ability to have their the hand cleansers, and everything was happening in a very positive way. Somehow we got away from that, so I'm encouraging every store to go back to those practices. The curfew will end on Monday, November the 30th at 5 p.m. I have the opportunity this evening to discuss this matter with Mayor DeMargo, and I have found that he will be cooperating and trying the best that they can with the resources that they have to enforce the order. We also emphasize that there are other things that the city and the county can do going forward that could be much more positive and much more effective. So we're both aligned to continue to do that. Now, let me emphasize the following. It is a shelter at home order. Residents are strongly urged to shelter at home. If leaving home to obtain essential or non-essential services, this order strongly recommends that only one person per family participate in obtaining goods and services. In other words, if you have designated things that you need to do, I recommend, and we all recommend, go to that store, go to that grocery store, whatever it is that you need to do. And if there's nothing else that requires your attention, you come back home. We want no more than 10 people may gather together in a public or at home. Shopping in El Paso, all essential businesses are fully open. Essential businesses defined by federal law. There was some concern or some idea that maybe the city, the mayor, or myself have designated essential. That is a federal mandate. There's no occupancy limit for essential stores. Examples include Walmart, Target, and other grocery stores. Most non-essential stores are limited to 50% occupancy. Non-essential stores are generally those that sell only goods such as clothing, shoes, makeup, and non-food items. Let me talk a little bit about something that we've continued to present, and that is being prudent and taking responsibility. Some of the essential responsibilities of these stores are responsible for ensuring the health and safety standards. I heard a comment in one of my business roundtables from a gentleman that they've done a tremendous job in trying to be safe and help businesses open. And he used the term self-pleasing. Self-pleasing means if I do the right thing for my employees, I do the right thing for my businesses, I'm going to do the right thing for our community. I encourage that same phrase to be for you as well. If you do the best thing that you can for your family, you will be doing the best thing for this community. All retail businesses, whether essential or non-essential, are responsible for ensuring the health and safety standards. I want that to be really loud and clear. Please, opening responsible and adhere to the order and comply with this order. Remember the basics. We know now that you could be in a situation with someone that is positive, and if you follow the protocol, your safety will be enhanced. If you wear your mask, you have social distance, you wash your hands frequently, you can avoid a situation even if there's someone there with the virus. Remember, no more than 10 people sitting at a table at restaurants. Given the circumstances, El Paso County finds itself in the Department of Public Health released additional guidelines that include recommendations for activities related to holiday shopping and holiday gatherings. Some of those guidelines, and you'll see them on our press releases and in our website, but I'd like to emphasize some of the more important. Consideration for not gathering with individuals not in the same household. Consideration for avoiding travel anywhere. If you recall, the first way the virus was spread in our community was through travel. We now have the travel situation, which is very likely during these holidays, along with our community spread. Celebrating virtually, please. Shopping online as much as possible. Avoid shopping at peak hours. At-risk loved ones should remain at home and not venture out to shop. Do not gather outside of stores before opening hours. You know, that's quite a tradition, something that was very exciting. And these are some of the sacrifices that will help us. By not doing that, will help us have many more opportunities and many more Thanksgiving holidays. Restaurants are allowed to open at 50% capacity and must stop service at 9 p.m. Takeout and curbside allowed after that time. We need to clarify for the public. I have limited authority in closing certain businesses. For example, people are a little confused and wonder why these things are happening, but I'm emphasizing this is not something under my purview or under my authority. For example, strip clubs are distinguished as businesses as they operate at 50%. All businesses must operate at 50% capacity as long as we are aligned with the governor's order. Also need to clarify that the county cannot determine what is an essential business. This is determined on the federal level. For example, very confusing to a lot of our individuals that live here in our community and all throughout the country is that liquor stores are open. That is an essential business mandated by federal regulations. We need to do everything possible to avoid the perfect storm. I will use every tool that I have, such as issuing a curfew to slow the spread of this virus. We are now cautiously anticipating the outcome of Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, New Year's, and the terrifying effects of the flu season. You have to stay home, work safe, and avoid the perfect storm. And I'll conclude by emphasizing that it is very difficult for most of us to understand by dealing with yesterday's numbers. Yesterday's numbers have nothing to do with the impact of what's happening a week or 2 weeks from now. I've said it over and over again. If I had a magic wand and I had the blessing and there was not one single positive case going forward, we would still have probably 700, 800 individuals that would die just by the numbers we have at this point in time. Just by the fact that we have 35,000 positive cases. So I want you to consider this. Individually, when we had holidays without the peak, we had big issues. We had to deal with things. People don't realize that we still deal right now at this point in time with what happened in Labor Day. So this is a perfect storm that we never would want this to happen to El Paso. High numbers, the probability of another wave, the flu coming at us, traveling from all over Texas and around the country, Black Friday, and the holidays. Are we going to have that perfect storm? Are we going to be at the other side of this holiday and feel good about what happened and what we did on an individual basis? Or are we in some way indirectly or directly going to contribute to a situation that is going to be much worse than it is today? So when you think of 19 trailers, saturated hospitals, 1,500 people working from all over helping us with this situation, that is minimal compared to what can happen. So I ask you, let's do it right. Let's be prudent. Let's open business safely. Let's do what we need to do when you need to do it. All of this will give us so many more people that might die. If we avoid this, those individuals will have many more Thanksgiving, many more Black Fridays, many more opportunities to be with their family. I plead with you. You can sense my passion. You can sense the passion of a lot of leaders, our delegation. Everyone is really pulling together to do the right thing. I tell you, there is nothing more important at this time in the history of El Paso in this region than to address our holidays in the most prudent and safe way possible. I wish you all just a beautiful Thanksgiving holiday. I know we have to deal with this situation. I wish we could be much happier. I am not optimistic that we're in the right place right now. Stay home. Let's celebrate. Let's get together years from now, looking back and knowing that El Paso is and will always be the best example for any community in our country. We've done it before. Let's do it again. I wish you a good evening, and I thank you, and I plead with you. Let's do it right. Nicole?
Thank you, Judge. Speaking next, we have Dr. Mario Rascon, El Paso County Chief Medical Examiner.
You are muted, Doctor. Dr. Rascon, you're muted right now. Hold on. Hello, Dr. Rascon. You're muted right now.
Dr. Rascon, you are muted. I don't believe he could hear us. I'd like, if you don't mind, Miguel, if someone could call him, but let's go to the next person because I know that time is of the essence. And we'll go to the next person and somebody connect with Dr. Rascon and let him know that we'll be bringing him back up.
Will do, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Speaking next is Joel Bishop, El Paso County's Executive Director of Justice and Community Support.
Good evening, everyone. Nicole, am I loud and clear?
We hear you, sir.
Yes, you are.
Can hear you.
Well, it's an honor to report the incredible efforts that El Paso County has made, along with our partners at the city and dozens of nonprofits in our community, to deploy effective programs to assist our community during this incredibly challenging time. All of our county's elected leaders, administration and departments have been working tirelessly to ensure that we deploy our resources in the most efficient and effective way possible. We have hundreds of county staff who have remained on the ground and on the front line during this pandemic, ensuring that our services continue, and we're very grateful for their sacrifice and efforts during this crisis. El Paso County is currently offering assistance in a number of innovative ways. Just yesterday, the El Paso County Commissioners Court voted unanimously to utilize $10 million of emergency reserve funds from the county's budget to establish a regional economic relief program. This program will be used to expand existing relief programs as well as establishing new ones aimed at supporting local businesses who are hurting during this time. We really want to thank Commissioner Vince Perez for driving this initiative, along with our planning department for coordinating the effort. Commissioners Leon and Commissioner Stout were appointed to be the county's representatives for this initiative in the work groups, and they're looking forward over the next several weeks to assist in developing the parameters and criteria of the program, which may include a variety of grants, low interest loans, as well as forgivable loans targeted for small businesses located throughout the unincorporated communities and small municipalities within the county. Also at yesterday's meeting, the Commissioners Court approved 2 small business economic relief programs utilizing remaining unspent CARES Act funds. A $600,000 agreement with Lift Fund will provide up to $20,000 for small businesses with 5 to 30 employees who have seen a reduction in profits over the course of the pandemic. Additionally, the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce will disperse $250,000 in grants to assist businesses for personal protective equipment and commercial mortgage, rental, or utility assistance. All CARES Act funds have to be distributed by the end of the calendar year, according to the federal guidelines. In conjunction with our partners at the Paso del Norte Foundation, the county recently initiated an evidence-based communication plan utilizing expertise from UTEP and other local partners. This effort is utilizing promotoras who are currently reaching thousands of people every day with resource information regarding the pandemic throughout the county's latest efforts. We're also collaborating with the city's outreach team in these efforts, and we are featuring frontline workers in these communication plans, which can be found on the social media sites that you will find connected on the website, which I'll mention here in a minute. The county has invested millions of dollars during the pandemic in assisting the most vulnerable in our community, including those directly and indirectly impacted by the pandemic, the homeless, those at risk for evictions, and those who are food insecure. We have deployed significant rental assistance programs, and we have helped over 1,000 families avoid foreclosures, evictions, and utility crises. In addition, we have supported an unprecedented eviction mediation program aimed at helping struggling families avoid evictions. And in conjunction with our partners at the city and over a dozen nonprofits, we've invested an unprecedented amount into our homeless community to assist with efforts to set up a temporary welcome center for the homeless that's resulted in incredible success in avoiding a catastrophic outbreak in the homeless shelter populations. You're going to hear more about that from our partners at the city, and that should be up next. We really want to thank our commissioners and the county judge for their support, and in particular, Commissioner Stout and Robinson for their consistent advocacy and assistance in the area helping the homeless. We've also given our food bank unprecedented support, resulting in enhanced food supplies to our residents and home delivery programs, including delivering food to those who are COVID positive, the medically at risk, and the elderly. We currently have cash assistance programs, rental assistance, mental health assistance, flu assistance, funeral, financial assistance, and transportation assistance programs available for you right now. To learn more about these programs, we are very pleased to announce our new website that has all of these resources consolidated at reducetherisk915.org. That's reducetherisk915.org. You can access this site right now to learn more about the programs that I just mentioned. We know that accessing these resources can be confusing and overwhelming, so we truly hope that this site helps you navigate your way around these resources, along with the city's website at epstrong.org. The county has also administered millions of dollars in other areas to support the community, including medical support, small municipality support, testing transports, school connectivity, and dozens of other initiatives to help provide relief from this pandemic. I want to emphasize that our partnership with the city staff in coordinating our programming and assistance efforts has been excellent, and we look forward to ongoing collaboration with the City of El Paso. And we want to thank you all for listening, and please do not hesitate to reach out to us for further assistance. Thank you.
Joel, thank you for recognizing the city. It's so important, but I also want to make sure that we recognize the rural mayors throughout our county that are doing an incredible job of also being part of this partnership. Thank you. Go ahead, Nicole.
Dr. Mario Roscon, our El Paso County Chief Medical Examiner, is ready to provide his update now.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Sorry about the difficulties that I experienced earlier. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So I welcome the opportunity to address the public at this time. And first, I wanted to express my gratitude and admiration to those at the front lines that are combating this pandemic. Everyone from first responders, nurses, doctors, clerks, volunteers, custodians, administrators, transporters, social workers. I'm sure I'm leaving people out, but you are always in our thoughts, and you know, we know the big sacrifices that you make day in and day out for our community. So I wanted to express my gratitude. I also wanted to review or give an outline of exactly how the virus is transmitted. I know we've heard it a lot of times, but I want to make a couple of points surrounding that. So COVID-19 is transmitted really in a manner that is no different than most respiratory viruses that we know and understand. So it's basically contact transmission. It's an infection spread by direct contact. Someone sneezes or coughs on their hand, then shakes the hand of someone else, and that someone else brings the hand to their face. So that's one way. And then another common way is the droplets, right? So exposure to virus-containing respiratory droplets that are exhaled by an infectious person while coughing or sneezing. So this transmission occurs within a relatively short phase or length, which is about 6 feet. Again, we've all heard this. Now, available data has indicated that COVID-19 spreads, again, like most other common viruses, through droplet transmission within a short range. Moreover, and this is important, a significant proportion of COVID-19 infections, particularly in younger individuals, can occur without symptoms. So now you have those two forces colliding. Number one, the younger, healthier population that can carry the infection without any symptoms, and then frequent close proximity contact with extended families and friends during this, coming holiday season. And you could argue maybe even a third force being the expected uptick in seasonal respiratory viral diseases like the flu. This puts the vulnerable population, the elderly individuals, those individuals with chronic illnesses like diabetes, chronic lung disease, obesity, hypertension, at significantly increased risk of experiencing serious complications following COVID-19 infection. As the judge mentioned, we had the peak in July and most of August. We managed to avoid a big peak in the spring when mobilization was diminished. And then we did enjoy a relatively calm, if I'm allowed to say that, period of about 6 or 7 weeks during September and early October, after which cases starting, popping up and deaths were significantly increased and have sustained at beyond worrisome levels for the past 5 weeks. My message is this: is behavior. If behavior in general is not modified, we could see the current situation not only continue but also becoming even worse during the following weeks or months. Again, this is why I welcome the opportunity to reiterate the support from the scientific community to the recommendations that have been repeatedly stated, and urge El Pasans to seriously reconsider their holiday plans if they include traveling and meeting with extended family. Stay at home as much as you can, possibly. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Wear your mask while outdoors. Protect yourself, protect your family, and more importantly, protect those who are at increased risk of experiencing complications. Thank you.
Dr. Rascon, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you and your team. You have done an amazing job. It's really difficult to understand how you deal with the volumes and the situations, but our heart goes out to you as well as you. Thank you for recognizing that we continue to be advocates and ambassadors for healthcare workers and everything that they go through. But your team has done amazing. We started to understand how you do things on August the 3rd and everything that happened during that time. So we thank you for that continued work and helping us to process and dignify the situation. So thank you very much. Nicole?
Speaking next will be Nicole Ferrini, the City of El Paso's Chief Resilience Officer.
Thank you so much, Nicole, and thank you, Judge, for inviting me to participate this evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Ferrini. I am the Chief Resilience Officer and Director of Community and Human Development for the City of El Paso. I want to first thank our partners, our collaborators, our colleagues at the county for continuing to work with us in support of the most vulnerable folks in our community. As always, I am proud to stand beside you. Since March, our teams have been focused on navigating the impacts of the COVID-19 crisis on El Pasoans most in need. This pandemic has not created a lot of the challenges we're dealing with. Rather, it has exacerbated a lot of the deep challenges that already existed in our community. What do I mean by that? What I'm talking about is things outside of the public health realm. I'm talking about challenges that include housing affordability, utility cost burden, access to food, and the individual financial stability of El Pasoans. As a result of that, the City of El Paso, with the leadership and guidance of the City Council, and in conjunction with our partners, multiple nonprofits across this community, as well as the County of El Paso, have committed and deployed over $20 million in support of community response and recovery. Available support for El Pasoans ranges from rental assistance and utility assistance to direct financial assistance, as well as access to food, all the way through to sheltering the increased number of El Pasoans that we know are experiencing homelessness as a result of the pandemic. A few examples of the support that have been deployed by the city are a $5.7 million investment directly to El Pasoans fighting hunger as they continue to feed El Paso families. To date, the food bank has distributed over 80 million pounds of food to over 400,000 families. And I let those numbers sink in just for a moment. As the judge spoke earlier, and as my colleague Joel Bishop said earlier, we continue to see the need in El Paso increase as we see the spike and the increase in the severity of the crisis. $7.5 million was invested directly in rental assistance. To date, that means that over 3,000 families, 3,000 El Paso families have received the help that they need to stay in their homes during this very difficult time. As a complement to that, over $3 million has been invested in providing shelter for those folks that are experiencing homeless through the Delta Welcome Center. The Delta Welcome Center would not have been possible without the partnership and collaboration with the County of El Paso. This is something that we stood up together, both from a funding perspective as well as just a collaborative operation perspective. To date, the Delta Welcome Center has successfully maintained a 0% origination rate of the virus. What does that mean? It means that we have been successful in protecting the most vulnerable El Pasoans as well as protecting the rest of the community through that investment. To date, we have seen over 2,000 individuals assisted at the Delta Welcome Center. Additionally, over $1 million has been invested in rapid rehousing programs, which is a very important piece that places families and individuals into permanent housing when they have in fact lost their housing, whether that be due to eviction or some other cause. So what you can see here is an investment in A, keeping people in their homes with access to the basic needs that we all often take for granted, but also when folks are displaced, making sure that we've invested in providing shelter that is safe for those families, safe for those individuals, and safe for the community. I would also like to mention the $1.8 million investment that the city made in providing childcare for working families across our community. We understand how difficult these times can be, particularly when we have folks, essential workers, that have children and require that very important childcare be provided in a safe and effective way. That effort has been made possible not just by the dollars, but by a partnership with our friends at the YWCA. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them for that partnership. Finally, and sadly, we are also supporting families that are suffering from a loss of a loved one by investing $500,000 in funeral assistance. With all of these programs, our team was charged by the City Council and frankly by this community to equitably deploy relief and support to ensure that El Paso's response is inclusive and resilient, ultimately making our community stronger and more prepared than ever before. Resilience is about finding our strength and tackling the most overwhelming of challenges. And this crisis has definitely been one of those challenges. I feel privileged to serve what I consider to be the most resilient community in the world. This has been an incredibly difficult time, but together, I know that we can get through this. I encourage anyone who needs assistance to please visit epstrong.org. You can find links to all of the programs that I've mentioned today on that site. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, in concert with all of the community investment that has been deployed by the City of El Paso, we have also invested in businesses and in the economy. That effort, led by my colleague, Director of Economic Development, Jessica Herrera, is also available to El Paso businesses in need. I encourage you to visit epbusinessstrong.org. Thank you again to the county judge and to all of my colleagues at the county and across this community for including us today.
Nicole, I want to thank you, and thank you for recognizing, because it's the City Council, it's a Commissioners Court, it's so many of the foundations, everybody coming together and being that El Paso that we all know. But I also want to thank you and Joel for that great relationship and being able to work together. From there, everything else happens, and so we thank you, Nicole, for all your work. Joel, thank you as well. I think we're on the right path where, as you can see, we have a crisis, but we're not just stepping away from that crisis and seeing what's going to take place. We're actively trying to figure out what do we do in when people suffer, whether it's a business or a loved one or a funeral situation, a lot of moving parts. So we thank you. Thank the city and the county and how we work together. That's a great part of this success. Nicole?
Mm-hmm. Our final speaker will be Commander Ryan Urrutia with the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Commander.
Hi, good evening, Judge. Today we're going to discuss El Paso a little bit about the existing order that's already in place. The current restrictions are still in place under the existing order and the previous order, which are the 50% capacities. The mask order social gatherings. We will actively be enforcing any violations of the order, any part of the order. Us, as well as municipal law enforcement within El Paso and the surrounding communities, have the authority under this order to issue citations for violations. We hope that the community is proactive and avoids large gatherings, does their part to protect the community and protect their loved ones, so we don't have to respond and we don't have to issue citations this holiday weekend. Law enforcement does have the authority to issue citations under the order, the curfew order, which is in effect from 10 at night till 5 in the morning, is associated with a $500 fine. Multa para reuniones de más 10 personas es $500. So a $500 fine is associated with that. The order for the curfew violation, anybody with non-essential travel that's written within the order's permissibility, citations can be issued to that, and those are also a $500 fine. Un multa para una violación de toque de queda is $500, so it's a $500 as well. And then last, we still have the mask order. So we encourage everybody in the community to please wear your mask, carry one with you, carry an extra one. They're pennies on the dollar, and everybody, I think we all got plenty of them around our homes or your business. Our local businesses are also distributing them, so take advantage and grab one. Make sure you're wearing it. Violations of that order are a $250 fine. The multa para no máscara is $250. So it's a $250 fine. We would like to remind our community, pay attention to the health orders, get on the EP Strong website for any guidance you may need. Remember to maintain your social distance. If you have to gather this weekend, keep it within the permissibility of under the 10 people. Like I said, we're hoping the community does their part, steps up, and helps prevent the spread, not just for the other community members, but for our family. And we hate to see our own family getting sick and anybody else in this community. Please make sure you're washing your hands, sanitizing. Guidance for the health orders are all available online. So we hope to see everybody next Thanksgiving, and hopefully we're through this and we're back to some normalcy in 2021. But hopefully everybody is safe this holiday season. Thank you.
Commander Urrutia, I want to take the opportunity. You said it's perfectly, and that is enforcement is only necessary if we're not doing the right things. I think everyone knows the order now. We could understand March and May, a little bit of confusion, but our law enforcement are not out there. They're doing this because we're asking them as part of our order. They also have so many other things that they have to do, protecting our county and city, and also, continuing to be one of the safest in the country. And so we, Sheriff Wiles, Chief Greg Allen, all the police department, our constables, our sheriff department, we thank you in putting you in a situation that shouldn't be necessary, but that that's part of the things that we have to do. And so I'm hoping that we follow the commander's request, and that is, if you do these things, we don't have to deal with the enforcement. If we don't deal with the enforcement, that means that we were on the right path. So please, my best to all the sheriffs, the police department, constables that have done such a great job throughout this whole process. I want to take that opportunity to thank you.
Thank you, Judge. You all have a good Thanksgiving, and we'll see you when hopefully this is all over.
Thank you so much, Commander. Nicole?
Judge, we will now be taking some questions from our media partners who are on the line.
Thank you.
Judge, the first person that we're going to have address you is, I believe it's Mr. Chris Babcock. Chris?
Hi, this is
Chris.
Babcock with El Paso Herald Post.
Go ahead.
Hi, Chris.
Judge, thank you for allowing us to get these questions in. Taking a step back and looking at the stay-at-home order number 15, and again, you said you spoke with the state leadership about this. Was there any talk about anything going beyond November 30th at 5 p.m.? And really quick follow-up on that. It is going to be Black Friday, and we heard the commander just talk about it. Aside from strongly urging them to do this, are we going to see active patrols by law enforcement out there throughout the curfew period?
I'll answer my part, and then I'll have Commander answer the one having to do with enforcement. That we could stay in our lanes. But there's a lot of curfews throughout the Texas that are more in alignment with my first order, and that is that they're able to only essential businesses. In my case, we're allowing non-essential businesses to operate in non-essential, purchasing and being able to participate in any of those businesses. The idea of having it through Thanksgiving is because of all the things that I mentioned, with the understanding that if we do this right, then having to have another stay-at-home order, or another curfew order wouldn't be necessary. It just has to do with numbers, and when the numbers are looking the way they are, we have to intervene and see if we could move those numbers in a more positive direction. And so it is a temporary curfew between now and Monday at 5 in the morning on Monday, so that we're able to see if there's a significant difference. Once again, it's focused on social and recreational. We've had a lot of issues in the desert and warehouses and young adults hanging out in different places. This will allow us to disperse those groups. It will also allow us to address the young adults going to Juarez or coming from Juarez this way to El Paso, and we'll be able to discourage that. Juarez, my heart goes out to them. They're challenged even more than we are, and having El Pasoans visit there puts us in a vulnerable situation, and vice versa.
Would the Commander Urrutia wanted to address?
Commander, on the enforcement of...
Yes, good evening, Chris. We will be, responding to COVID-related calls as usual. We will have some personnel working to respond so that burden doesn't fall on the patrol personnel, because we want our patrol officers to be able to respond to all the other calls for service that our community is calling in during that time frame. So if a curfew violation has come across, it's got to be established through probable cause. We can only stop a vehicle when a probable cause is established. So we're just not out there stopping vehicles, checking for curfew violations. If somebody's stopped for speeding and they're found in violation of the curfew order, the deputy or the officer has a discretion to issue a citation for that curfew violation if they fall out of the parameters of the order. We will seek to use some of the CARES Act funding to place personnel out on overtime so it doesn't draw from our existing manpower, that because the community has an expectation to safety, and we want to make sure we're serving the community effectively. We want everybody to feel safe, and we want to be able to also address the COVID enforcements.
Excellent summation, Commander. Thank you.
Okay, the next media entity is K-Fox. I believe it's Tony.
Hi, Tony. Go ahead.
Hi, Judge. It's Tony K-Fox, CBS. I just had a question if you got a briefing, because yesterday's cases came out at 328, and I know that was discussed during the county commissioners meeting and city meeting, kind of as maybe there's some hope that this is going down. But today we received the number of 1,257. Did you get a briefing on what happened, why the increase?
Well, we know, and one of the things I said, we get excited because we have a single day digits. They go down, but they're not very relevant. There could be so many other factors. For example, on yesterday, we did have, that means that's a weekend. It's the numbers from the weekend. Not all the labs report. The same businesses aren't open, and our resources for testing and so forth are different. And so you're going to have these different variations in numbers. People say, could it be part of the partial order? Could it be? I'd like to say that there is, that we do see these things flatten out, and we're hoping they continue to go in that direction. But really, what tells the story is the 7-day averages, the trending, and as I've said before, if the numbers go down, but we're still saturated in the hospitals or our morgues are filled, that number doesn't mean anything. It's insignificant. It's putting it in its holistic, view, and then you make a determination. To me, it was a number that reflected that we had one day based on all the information that we typically have. So, like I said, look at it from the trend as much more important than by the numbers on a daily basis.
Okay, the next number that we're going to hear from is 7281, area code 514.
Yes, it's Annick Béraud from the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Hello.
Hello. Go ahead. Tell me your name again.
Annick Béraud. I'm calling from Radio Canada, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Hello.
Thank you.
For
Thank you for that.
Yes, we have a question about the National Guard, please, to know exactly how many of them are here, how long are they going to participate in the fight against the COVID here in El Paso, and exactly what are their duties, please?
Well, thank you. There's two separate. We have a large contingency that helps us with testing that is being done throughout the whole county. At this time, we have 37 that have been reinstated that are actually El Pasoans here from our community that are helping with the fatalities management. The idea is obviously that we have a lot of bottlenecks and we're not being able to dignify the process the way we want to. One of the things that I wanted to be very clear about is that one of the things that's going to help immediately is that at this time we were hearing, people, individuals dying at a residence and having 3, 4, 5 hours of waiting for their loved ones to be picked up. That was, to me, a very horrible situation. I mean, I think 1 hour, 30 minutes is too much to be in that situation. And so what I'm hoping is that if we move things forward, that we take away that burden from our residents or the individuals that die at home, that they're not the ones that are hit with that burden. So thank you for the call. We just love the fact that other communities are calling in. I've had even the mayor of Houston call in to offer help and whatever that they could do. Having a call from Canada, that means that maybe some way, somehow, our community can help them as well in whatever challenges that they have. So we are using them for the movement and the transportation at this time, and then eventually to help us as much as they can on a facility that will be between someone dying and then taking them to a funeral home. And that's a very important logistic operation.
Okay, Judge, the last one in English is Mr. Willard from K-Fox.
Oh, Willard. Nice to hear from you, Willard.
Hi, Judge
Go ahead.
Diego. Stephen Willard. How are you doing?
Real good, thank you.
All right. I wanted to ask you, I spoke with the governor this afternoon concerning the implementation of the curfew, and one of the things I asked him was, do you feel that the state has done everything that they could to help El Paso with the COVID-19 crisis? And the governor said that he does believe that the state has done everything and fulfilled every request from El Paso specifically to help with the crisis. Now, is that your view?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I've sent in every way I can in talking to him through Louis Saenz, the chief of staff. We are very, very appreciative of everything that is sent to us, all the resources, everything. And I've said before, Willard, there's two buckets. One is dealing with the virus when it happens, and then there's one dealing before it happens that we avoid, that we get more and more positive cases. From the side of getting the resources, I don't think anybody would have any doubt in thanking the governor and his staff for everything that they've done. I've been asking more on helping us to be more unique and in our uniqueness to help us with stopping the spread, which means allowing me to have a little bit more of authority, allowing the mayor and myself to be able to say these are some of the things that we need to avoid it, allowing ourselves that if we're at 50% and he's moving at 75% occupancy, then we're able to assess it and say, well, we need a little bit of time. I don't think we're ready to move in that direction. So from the side of resources, absolutely. From the side of being able to prevent the spread, I still think we could have a much better relationship, especially one of the things that I'm going to reach out to President-elect Joe Biden is that he sees us as a region and to help Juarez as much as they're helping El Paso with testing, with PPE, and all the things, all the technologies that we need, because we're in one region. There's no border. The virus does not respect the border. And if we don't take care of Juarez, Juarez is going to have we're going to have a problem over here. If we don't do the right thing here, Juarez is going to have. And we know the dynamics are amazing. And so I just want a little bit more focus on preventing the virus and then helping our region address these problems before they happen and then after they happen.
Okay, Judge, we do have another media entity, and that's Univision. So I don't know if you want to take that now or.
I'd rather just let's do the entire the Spanish part of it, Miguel, so that way we. I know there's different audiences, and it gets a little bit confusing when we go back and forth. So I'd like to be able to go in to talk a little bit or go through the presentation quickly in Spanish, and then we'll ask the Spanish media to help us out.
Right, sir.
Are we ready for that?
Yes, they are standing by. We're up. We're still good.
Okay. Pues primeramente me da mucho gusto poder comunicarles en el idioma en español, así como lo hemos hecho en el idioma inglés, porque estamos en una comunidad que estamos muchos hispanos y mucha gente habla español y obviamente tenemos una relación muy bonita entre la cultura. Entonces, para mí es muy importante explicar que este fenómeno que hemos vivido está muy fuerte en todo el Estados Unidos. Si ustedes ven los records de lo que ha pasado, el número de gente en los hospitales, todo lo que hemos hablado, las muertes, todo ha sido muy similar por todo el Estados Unidos. Aquí en el Estados Unidos ya llevan nomás hoy, hemos subido los números que tenemos 85,933 personas en los hospitales. Es algo por los 14 días consecutivos de una situación bien difícil. 85,936 personas en los hospitales. El total de nuevos casos ya llegó a 1.2 millones por la primera vez. Hubo ayer, en un día singular, 889 muertes ayer en el Estados Unidos. Este es el pico más fuerte desde el 4 de julio de este año. Vamos a hablar mucho de esa situación, de que después de un día festivo tenemos muchísimos incrementos de positivos que nos impacta en lo que vamos a estar hablando hoy. Esta es nuestra realidad aquí en la comunidad y en todo el Estados Unidos. Una realidad bastante difícil y una realidad que nos debe de ayudar a entender por qué no podemos celebrar de la misma manera, del mismo modo que lo hemos hecho en tantos años. Muchas tradiciones bonitas de viajar, muchas tradiciones bonitas de estar con toda la familia. Era algo que nos agradecía mucho, pero es algo que ya nos va a suceder. Queremos y les decimos un mensaje muy importante. Quédense en la casa, hagan todo lo posible para evitar todas estas situaciones que nos ponen en una situación vulnerable para poder tener muchos más días festivos como el Día de Gracia en el futuro. Estamos en la fase número 1, que es la fase peor en nuestra manera de recuperar aquí en la comunidad. Hoy tuvimos 1,257 nuevos positivos. Ya tenemos un total de 82,809 casos que han habido de positivos aquí en El Paso. Eso nos lleva ahorita, casos activos, gente que ahorita están sufriendo con el virus, es 36,640, que sabemos que es mucho más porque hay muchos asintomáticos y que no sabemos que tienen la enfermedad. Hay otros que se quedan en la casa cuando se enferman y no van a las pruebas y simplemente tratan ellos a estar en la cuarentena. So, yo digo que el número más correcto anda como en 40,000. Desafortunadamente, ahora tuvimos 15 más muertes y son 877 muertes. Quiere decir que 877 seres queridos aquí en El Paso han muerto por el COVID. Tenemos 489 muertes abajo de investigación, que se va a determinar si son de COVID o no. 304 pacientes en cuidados intensivos, 217 pacientes en ventiladores. Hemos recibido 1,500 personal que han venido aquí a ayudarnos con este problema. Ahorita encontramos que 41% de todas las personas, incluyendo el centro de convención, los cambios que hemos hecho, los espacios que hemos tenido en los hospitales, 41% de todas las personas en el hospital y en estos lugares son relacionados al virus. Ahorita tenemos 10 morgues móviles y uno que no está operando y 4 morgues móviles que están ahorita en este nuevo lugar que vamos a hablar un poco. Es algo temporal que estamos teniendo para evitar el problema de que no puedan recibir o que las personas tengan un ser querido que muere en la casa y que no vayan por él o que tarden de 3, 4, 5 horas como estamos viendo recientemente. Para que nosotros estamos haciendo todo, ¿verdad? Lo posible. Es un lugar para nosotros muy privado, no es necesario que sepan dónde está el lugar. Es muy importante para la privación y la dignidad de las familias. Ahorita el condado, el estado, la oficina de emergencia, Border Rack, están trabajando muy en conjunto para tener este lugar que les digo que vamos a poder facilitar un poco más esta situación. Ahorita en el momento tenemos 236 seres queridos que están en morgues en este momento. Ahorita la Guardia Nacional nos está ayudando con este manejo de las personas que han muerto. Este viernes pasado le escribí una carta al gobernador para un toque de queda, a ver si me había permitido. Sí fue algo favorable, abajo de cómo lo estoy presentando, que vamos a poder tener este toque de queda. Se va a iniciar hoy, a las 12:01 de la mañana, que va a iniciar a las 12 hoy, siguiente minuto, que va a ser miércoles AM, vamos a iniciar el toque de queda de las 10 a las 5 de la mañana. Quiero que estemos muy seguros que está enfocado en eliminar congregaciones sociales y de recreo. Todavía no, en ninguna manera va a afectar a los negocios como están ahorita. Los esenciales y no esenciales van a seguir funcionando y las personas pueden ir y participar en todos estos negocios. Les pedimos que sean más prudentes. Por ejemplo, si quieren ir a una tienda de abarrotes, van y regresen a la casa. Estamos haciendo todo lo posible que vayan, puedan recoger la comida o el producto afuera y pasar por la ventanilla también para agarrar. Pero es muy claro que sea enfocado en grupos sociales, el movimiento de nuestros jóvenes que cruzan de Juárez el Paso a Juárez. Ahí sí vamos a hacer todo para aplicar la ley en este momento. Como les digo, inicia hoy o mañana a las 12:01 de la mañana. y se termina el lunes, que viene siendo el 30 de noviembre, a las 5 de la mañana. Estamos enfocándonos que es un toque de queda que es esencial o en este momento para prevenir lo que puede pasar, algo muy difícil para esta comunidad, si tenemos los mismos resultados que hemos tenido el Día de las Madres, el Día de los Padres, el Día Laboral. Todos esos días tuvimos muchísimos retos que como en 10 o 12 días iniciaron unos números muy altos y muy fuertes para nuestra comunidad, que hasta este momento estamos tratando con esa situación. Les pedimos, obviamente, quédense en la casa, hagan todo lo posible para no salir, que no tengamos más de 10 personas en la casa o afuera de la casa. Les pedimos que no visiten de un hogar al otro, porque obviamente es donde tenemos el problema. El primer problema que tuvimos en nuestra comunidad fue el contagio a través de gente que viajó, que venía de California, que venían de San Antonio. Fue el primero. Y ahora tenemos ese problema que sí van a venir muchas personas, pueden contribuir al problema, y además tenemos que se está desparramando a través de la comunidad. Como les digo, es esenciales, los negocios esenciales, ha habido una confusión de que los negocios esenciales no están, el mandato no es a través de nosotros, ni el alcalde, ni su servidor, es algo, un mandato federal que viene de afuera de aquí, que nos dice qué es esencial y qué no es. En las tiendas todavía es 50%, no más del cupo que no sea más grande del 50%. Queremos obviamente la responsabilidad del empleado, de la responsabilidad del negocio y el que visita el negocio, que haga todo lo posible para hacer lo más básico, de que no hagamos nada sin tener la mascarilla, la distancia social, lavarse las manos frecuentemente, que en un restaurante no se sienten más de 10 personas en un lugar, y dado nuestras circunstancias, pues tenemos muchos reglamentos que ustedes pueden ver en las redes que tenemos nosotros, el condado y la ciudad. Estamos, como les digo, traten no de viajar, celebren virtualmente, hagan todo lo posible de estar por línea a través de las compras por internet, no ir en picos altos de negocio en las tiendas, y todo lo posible que si es alguien de mayor edad, por favor que no salga. Es muy importante porque son los que están más vulnerables en este momento. Y por favor no se junten afuera de los negocios esperando la apertura, porque allí hay mucha posibilidad que el contagio sea mucho más grande. Como les digo, se pueden abrir 50% de capacidad, separa el servicio en los restaurantes a las 9, pueden ir por la comida o pueden pasar por las ventanillas. Como les digo, nosotros no tenemos toda la autoridad, viene de los esenciales. Me preguntan que cómo es posible que esos clubes de adultos estén abiertos. Es algo abajo que está fuera de mi control y la autoridad mío y del alcalde, porque pueden tener negocios al 50%. Lo que hemos hablado es de que no tengamos la tempestad perfecta. Tenemos la situación de gente que viene de afuera, como les digo, fue algo muy peligroso para nosotros, fue lo que inició el virus allá en marzo. Tenemos la influencia que viene, con este cambio de temperatura vamos a tener la influencia. Tenemos los números muy altos ahorita de positivos, tenemos el día de Black Friday que viene y tenemos el día festivo del Día de Gracia. Todos esos factores son difíciles de controlar si no somos prudentes y nos puede llevar a una situación mucho más difícil. Me han preguntado que si estoy optimista en cualquier cosa, Y le digo que no. Ahorita si ustedes ven el problema en las funerarias, los problemas en los hospitales, no poder atender personas que llegan allí sin COVID, pero que tienen emergencias, tienen problemas de corazón, no se atienden de la misma manera. El volumen no nos está permitiendo tener la misma calidad. Pero les pido con todo corazón que no se vayan a esperar ir al hospital. Estamos viendo que están yendo al hospital ya cuando hay mayores problemas y cuando se esperan muchísimo tiempo. Aunque dado nuestras circunstancias, es mejor hacer todo lo posible para atenderse. Tenemos que hacer todo lo posible para no tener esa tempestad perfecta que nos puede suceder. Les pido con todo corazón a toda la comunidad, no es cuestión de Ricardo Samaniego, el juez del condado, no es cuestión del alcalde, no es cuestión de nadie, ni el gobernador Abbott. Es una decisión que ustedes tienen que hacer. Es una decisión que si quieren tener mucho más días festivos en el futuro o ponerse en una situación vulnerable donde no van a tener a sus seres queridos aquí por muchos más años. Les pido que hagan todo lo posible. Yo sé cómo somos, cómo podemos hacer en esta comunidad. No hay nada más importante que prevenir otros picos como hemos tenido en otros días festivos. Sabemos que es algo difícil, están cansados, dicen que hay una fatiga de COVID, pero como dijo un médico que le preguntó, que le dijo, ya estamos cansados, estamos ya frustrados, fatigados de todo, de estar esperando. Y les dijo el médico, no hay nada más difícil, con más fatiga, que estar en un ventilador. So piénsenlo así, me quedo en la casa, puedo prevenir una situación o me encuentro en un hospital, en un ventilador o a un ser querido en esa situación. Muchísimas gracias. Vamos a tomar las preguntas de los medios y ojalá que podamos contestar la mayoría de lo que ustedes tienen. Y si no, sabemos que vamos a publicar en dónde está esa información y les pido que hagan todo lo posible para entender, porque si hay confusión, no debe de haber, como les digo, en marzo lo entiendo, en abril, mayo lo entiendo. Pero ahorita ya tenemos bastantes recursos para saber qué es lo que tenemos que hacer en este momento. Muchísimas gracias.
No. La primera pregunta va a ser de la señorita Valdés.
Muchísimas gracias. ¿Señora Valdés?
Sí.
¿De qué estación, por favor?
Univision.
Univision. Muchísimas gracias, Univision.
Sí.
Adelante, señorita Valdés.
Univision. Muchísimas gracias.
Buenas tardes, juez. Para preguntarle, estuvo comentando que... ¿Pueden escucharme?
Sí, si quiere, le puede bajar el YouTube, por favor, el volumen del YouTube.
Estuvo comentando que... ¿Pueden escucharme?
Sí, si quiere, le puede bajar el YouTube.
Ahí está.
Ok, adelante.
La pregunta es referente a los puentes. El juez estuvo comentando que se van a tomar acciones para los jóvenes que van hacia Juárez. ¿Qué serán esas medidas? ¿Va a haber policías en los puentes? ¿Cuáles son las medidas que se van a estar tomando para estos jóvenes que acuden a Juárez y que se dijo que no es necesario que estén haciendo esto?
Sí, el comandante Urruti habló de esto. Lo que está diciendo es que no podemos directamente aplicar esa ley. Esa ley sucede, por ejemplo, si van cruzando y se suben en un carro, no funciona bien el carro, traen algo que tengan mal, los paran por otra situación. Entonces, en ese momento sí se les puede preguntar qué es la actividad que están teniendo. Si no están yendo a un negocio esencial o no esencial, no debían de estar afuera después de las 10. La orden, lo que hace el toque de queda, lo que está pidiendo es que sí puedan ir a los negocios, pero no congregarse en social. Muchos de los problemas que tenemos es, como por ejemplo, en el desierto, en Red Sands, donde se junta mucha gente. Sin este orden, fuera muy fácil que se pudieran juntar allí y nosotros no poder decir nada si son menos de 10 personas. con el orden ya podemos nosotros establecer o aplicar la ley de que no deben de andar afuera si no es para participar en negocios esenciales o no esenciales. Entonces sí vimos la última vez que con el orden menos personas estaban, jóvenes especialmente, estaban cruzando a México después de las 10 y recibimos menos personas de allá para acá. So, sabemos que sí tiene éxito, pero lo que es más importante es el mensaje que mandamos. Si estoy haciendo un toque de queda, es una manera de explicar qué tan difícil está la situación. Es algo que yo tengo a mi autoridad en el momento y lo voy a utilizar. Y como les ha dicho, yo adentro de las leyes y las órdenes del gobernador voy a hacer todo lo posible para proteger esta comunidad.
That was the last question in Spanish.
Okay, thank you. Well, once again, we thank everyone for participating. Le damos las gracias a todos que nos escucharon. Sabemos qué es lo que tenemos que hacer y les pido, vamos a tener muchísimos días festivos de aquí en adelante. Protéjanse todo lo posible. Hagan lo posible para salvar, ya si salvan con una expresión o algo que hacen o comentarle a alguien o no salir, si salvamos una persona, ya es más que suficiente todo este esfuerzo. Pero sabemos que ahorita, nomás como está la situación, van a haber muchísimas más muertes y muchas más si no hacemos lo que se tiene que hacer. Muchísimas gracias. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Please be safe. Let's show the rest of the world what we're made out of. Let's make everyone proud of who El Pasoans are.